It's time for another gardening update. Everything is growing well, so let's go take a look. The no-dig potatoes are getting very tall and they're all starting to flower now. Since this is the first time I've grown potatoes this way, I'm not sure how it's going to come out. I'm growing a red type, a blue type, and Yukon Gold. I've grown Yukon Gold before, but not the other two. I'll feel blessed as long as I end up with more than I started with. Near the potatoes, the petunia tower that I made is starting to look pretty good. I trimmed the ones in the side way back when I first planted them, and they're just now starting to bloom well. Once the weather turned hot, it was time to harvest the lettuce that we had in the stackable pots. I replaced the lettuce with micro tomatoes. These are orange hat tomato plants that only get to about 8 or 9 inches tall. I'm replacing the lettuce we had in the grow bags with some peppers. I overwintered our F2 Black Pearl Hybrid pepper. I gathered seeds from the peppers that were getting ripe on that plant and scattered them on the grow bag. Then I just lightly mixed the seeds with the soil, and now I'll keep it moist. Here's a quick look at our F2 Purple Flash hybrid pepper. Last year, I used one of our tomato cages as a trellis for some long beans. They grew past the top of the cages, so I added some bamboo for extra height. This year, I'm doing the same thing with our 5 different types of pole beans. Our purple type of pole bean is already past the top of the cage and climbing the bamboo. All 5 types of pole beans are doing well, but I noticed the closer to the fence, the shorter the beans. I think that's because the ones closest to the fence don't get as many hours of direct sunshine. The cage closest to the fence in this row has melons in it. Then we have 2 more types of pole beans, and some of them are getting pretty tall. They've grown quite a bit just in the last couple of weeks. Even though we didn't have ideal weather in the month of May, the tomatoes are setting on pretty well. In this row we have a dwarf called Sleeping Lady. This is one that I've never grown before, and it's off to a pretty good start. Kookaburra Cackle is another dwarf that I've never grown before. This was one of the first ones to set tomatoes this year for us. Rosella Purple is a great tasting tomato that was recommended to me by Millennial Gardener. This is the only indeterminate tomato that I'm growing this year. It's a cherry tomato called Sun Gold. I've heard from dozens of people who really love this tomato, so I'm giving it a try. This is my favorite tomato from last year. It's called Baronia. For those of you who are Cherokee Purple fans, this one reminds me a lot of the Cherokee Purple, both in appearance and taste. I have 2 Baronia plants, and this is our second one. I also grew this tomato last year. It's called Tasmanian Chocolate. It was a very productive tomato for us. Another new one that we're growing in a grow bag is called Lemon Ice. The Matoyo Eggplant finally has a bloom on it. Matoyo is my favorite eggplant to eat. Right next to the Matoyo is Rosa Bianca, and it's just a hair behind. The beetroot is responding really well to all of the sunshine and warm weather we've been having lately. This one's called Bull's Blood. In these 2 rows we have Detroit Dark Red and Cylindra. I'm growing a mammoth red Bengal beet in a container just for the fun of it. I still haven't thinned the amaranth because of insect pressure. I'm giving it a little time to get going. The quinoa next to the amaranth doesn't seem to be bothered by insects, and I'll be thinning it soon. If you were watching last year, you might remember this pair of praying mantis that I found out in the backyard. Once they separated, I turned the male loose and kept the female for a while. She rewarded me by laying this egg case on the aquarium lid. I put a couple of other egg cases with it and left them in the garage all winter. And this spring, I have baby praying mantises. I spread these around the yard and garden for some natural insect control. The heat is here to stay now, and that's when our peppers do the best. This is a hot pepper that I'm looking forward to trying called Sugar Rush Cream. Next to it is Jimmy Nardello, which was very productive last year, and it looks like it's going to be very productive this year. The Heritage Big Jim chili pepper has no peppers on it yet, but it won't be long. Cubanelle is a sweet pepper that I'm looking forward to trying, and it's got quite a few peppers on it already. The F3 Black Pearl Hybrid that I put out in the garden is looking great, but has no peppers. The Ruia right next to it has quite a few peppers, and is looking pretty good. Although the blot pepper only has 2 peppers on it, they're both pretty large. In the next row, the Ahi Rico looks like it's going to be one of those types of peppers that produces a lot of peppers. This one's a hybrid. The Oda is just now starting to get peppers. They start out yellow, then turn purple. The Buena Mulata has an amazing number of peppers on it for being this early, and I'll be harvesting some of those in the next day or two. The Albino Bullnose is off to a fast start as usual, and it's loaded with peppers already. Even though they're a little hard to see, the Lesia already has quite a few peppers that have set on. The Chinese 5-color pepper has a couple of tiny little peppers started. The Mega Gold Hybrid is growing well, but doesn't have a pepper on it yet. One of our Oda peppers in a container already has a little purple one. I moved some of our carnivorous plants outside just to see how they would do, and even though they don't look very well right now, they are improving. They didn't like our cool rainy weather, but they're liking the sunshine and warmer weather. The pitcher plant is just now starting to form a pitcher. The corn is loving the sunshine and is growing pretty well now. We're growing our cross between our japonica corn and our ornamental popcorn, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that turns out. I'm also growing a few japonica corn to cross with the hybrid. The Musa Basjou bananas and the Musa Velutina bananas are off to a pretty good start, and I haven't really done anything to those this year so far. They've had plenty of rain, so I haven't had to water, and I haven't fertilized yet. When I fertilize our bananas, I only fertilize once or twice at the most. But I do give them a little water every day once the temperature gets in the 90s and stays there. I recently purchased some Musa Ornata and Musa Chismani banana seeds, and I'm going to try to germinate those outside in a container. This is what our Oxalis Triangularis looks like after I let it go dormant for the winter. And this is what it looks like now. When I repotted it, I took the chance to start a whole bunch more. Here's our first very small pepper harvest. Things should just keep getting better for the peppers from this point on. The plants that I stuck over by the storm shelter are doing pretty well, and we're getting some tomatoes to set on over there too. The largest sundew plant that we have indoors is getting ready to produce a flower, so I'm going to try to save seeds from it this time. I finally got around to removing all the collars from the tomatoes and the pepper plants. I used those to keep cutworms out. I did a video on that, so if you want to see that, I'll put a link down below. Let us know how your garden's doing, and don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends. We'll see you next time.